Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Psalm Sunday. This is a series of videos in which I read you a psalm and then we read it in a few different translations and talk about it a little. A fun comparative text exercise that has become a torment of Dante's Inferno for me. This is take number 52,000 for this video. I have been doing different takes of this video since 1998. I'm going to try and get through this one. I'm going to keep trying. I am not going to make any other videos today, obviously. I'm not going to eat today or walk my dog today. It's now locked in a personal contest of honor to get this to happen. So we're going to start with the King James Bible. This is the Norton Critical Edition of the King James Bible. And the psalm that we're going to be reading today is Psalm number 8, which is not long. So you would think that in reading aloud a psalm that I have read aloud 1,000,000 times, I would not lapse into French, start reading from a Star Trek novel, get whole chunks of it wrong from another psalm. You would assume that that would not happen. So we're going to try to see whether or not we can get that to happen. I will read it artlessly, like a fifth grader does, to make sure that I don't make any basic reading errors so that we don't go to take number 53,000. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Who hath set thy glory above the heavens? Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and the avenger. When I consider thy heavens, the works of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visitest him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet, all sheep and oxen, yea, and the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passeth through the sea. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. So there you have the basic outline of a hymn of praise for God the Creator, for a creator God. This is all about God putting things in place, setting the universe in place. And even if you're not a religious person, you will certainly have caught secular echoes of a lot of the lines in there, right? So that's the King James. Now that's the English Bible. Now we're going to move on to the New English Bible. Often interesting variations here. We'll see what the New English Bible does to this if we live. O Lord, our sovereign, how glorious is thy name in all the earth. Thy majesty is praised high as the heavens. Out of the mouths of babes, of infants at the breast, thou hast rebuked a mighty, silencing enmity and vengeance to teach thy foes a lesson. When I look up at thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars set in their place by thee, what is man that thou shouldst remember him? Mortal man that thou shouldst care for him? Yet thou hast made him little less than a god, crowning him with glory and honor. Thou makest him master over all thy creatures. Thou hast put everything under his feet, all sheep and oxen, all the wild beasts, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, and all that moves along the paths of the sea. O Lord, our sovereign, how glorious is thy name in all the earth. So you see a couple of things of interest there. One, the King James Bible, the old English Bible, says that God has made man a little less than angels. Here it's a little less than gods. So if you were doing this in the aisle of a bookstore and you had 6 Bibles pulled down on, for you and your friends to go through, neatly, courteously, getting out of people's ways, you would automatically note that. That is a radically different thing. At least Christians think it is. I've never seen the difference between a God and an angel, but Christians make a big deal out of it. Christians will maintain until they're blue in the face that they don't worship angels. But another thing also seems to be a little bit on the wobbly side. Up there at the top, that bit about babes and sucklings. Here it's babes and infants at the breast, which is what a suckling is. But it's out of the mouths of babes and sucklings at the breast, thou hast rebuked the mighty. Whereas in the King James Bible, the first version, it's that the praise of thy majesty is praised as high as the heavens out of the mouths of babes and sucklings. You see what I mean? I don't doubt if you don't see what I mean, because I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. It's been several years that I've been trying to make this video, so I have no idea if I'm even making coherent sense. But in the first version, the King James version, the babes and sucklings are doing the praising. And here, the babes and sucklings are kind of the conduit for God to rebuke his enemies. if you follow me at all, if any of that made sense at all. So that's a kind of a wobbly thing. If that's true, that's the two different translations saying two different things. Not just a difference in phraseology, but a difference in where the actual action is happening. So let's move on. Let's move on to the Jerusalem Bible and see what they have to say. Now, we know already from the Jerusalem Bible that God is going to be named. He's going to be called Yahweh. And we also have learned over the course of a few Psalm Sundays something else about the Jerusalem Bible, which is that you're going to lose all the poetry. Say what you want about that. Maybe you prefer that. Plenty of readers do. Let's go to Psalm 8 in the Jerusalem Bible before the roof caves in, or there's a lightning strike, or an actual Exocet missile goes at 6 feet off the ground, parallel to the houses, blowing the glass out of all the windows, or something like that. Yahweh, our Lord, how great your name throughout the earth. Above the heavens is your majesty chanted by the mouths of children, babes in arms. Okay, so we have a second here. Here, the children are doing the praising. You set your stronghold firm against your foes to subdue enemies and rebels. I look up at your heavens made by your fingers, at the moon and stars you set in place. Ah, what is man that you should spare thought for him? The son of man that you should care for him. I'm not going to do it, Bean. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to let anything stop me from making this video. Yet you have made him little less than a god. You have crowned him with glory and splendor, made him lord over the work of your hands, set all things under his feet, sheep and oxen, all these, yes, wild animals too, birds in the air, fish in the sea, traveling the paths of the ocean. Yahweh our Lord, how great your name throughout the earth. Okay, so in the 2 points that we're talking about, you notice that the children are doing the praising here. They've gone back to doing the praising. And also, gods is repeated. Not little less than angels. It's little less than gods. Very, very interesting. Do you want to come down here, baby? No? I don't doubt that you don't know what you're doing. This has been 50,000 takes. We've done this all day. Some feet yoga for you. She did that in takes 18 through 50, and also then again somewhere in the 170s. She did that as well, but that was days ago, so I can't give you specific numbers. All right, and then we'll move on to a single translator. I thought it was good to have a single translator in the mix here instead of these committee versions. So we're going to do Robert Alter's Bible, and let's see what he has to do for Psalm number 8 while we're still alive, while we still can. Psalm number 8, when he writes it, is, Lord, our Master, how majestic your name in all the earth, whose splendor was told over the heavens. From the mouths of babes and sucklings you founded strength on account of your foes to put an end to enemy and avenger. So again, it's now through them that God is doing something to his enemies. They aren't doing anything. When I see your heavens, the work of your fingers, okay, so that's 4 times. All 4 translations use the word fingers. So in all 4 translations here, agree that the singer of this psalm believes that God has hands. It absolutely is not metaphorical. If what they wanted a bit of metaphorical ambiguity, they would use the word hand, right? Because hand can be, the work of my hand is the raising of this temple. That hand can be metaphorical. Fingers is not metaphorical here. The moon and the stars you fixed firm. What is man that you should note him? And the human creature that you pay him heed. And you make him little less than the gods. With glory and grandeur you crown him. You make him rule over the works of your hands. All things you set under his feet. Sheep and oxen altogether, and also the beasts of the field, birds of the heavens and fish of the sea, what moves on the paths of the sea. Lord, our Master, how majestic your name in all the earth. So we're back to gods. But there is no settlement there about what the mouths of babes and sucklings is doing. There is no settlement. Our translations do not agree, which is, believe it or not, a lot of fun, because it will prompt the enterprising student, believing or not believing, Christian or not Christian. The only people it won't prompt to do more research and find out what is really true will be people of an insecure faith, people whose faith is reliant on a book rather than on a personal experience. Which is why I'm not all that worried about doing Psalm Sunday. I'm worried for other reasons. 52,000 takes of an 8-minute video means that there is supernatural opposition to this series. But I've been worried about that on my own time. When Frida's head starts spinning around, she starts vomiting green bile onto the walls. A couple of things we want to point out here. One is the fun of this, right? This video isn't fun for me because I'm not conscious anymore. I started making this video and trying to get it done in 1996. So I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But if you were to do an analysis of Psalm number 8, you would find this fun, I would hope, because you're chasing down these differences. Why are these translators writing these things differently? In, for instance, the case of a little lower than the angels or like a god, the confusion goes all the way to the beginning. It goes all the way to the Hebrew language. The word is Elohim, which can mean either a god or some kind of celestial being. Doesn't really help you any, especially since Christianity has hardened in most of its denominations now to a hard and fast claim of monotheism. Again, I have never understood that claim at all. Saints, angels, they are gods. I've never understood, even the Trinity is three gods. I've never understood the Christian mania to say we are a monotheism. I've never got that. You pray to saints. You pray to angels. There are prayers in every denomination to all of these beings. You offer prayers to gods in hopes that they will intercede. Christians get around it by saying both that the Trinity is three in one somehow, the mystery of the Trinity, and also that you don't pray to St. Michael or, the Virgin Mary or, St. Christopher. You don't pray to them to do anything. You pray to them to intercede with God to do something. Seems like a mighty fine hair split. They're still alive. They still have superpowers. I think that makes them gods, but I'm a poor judge with these things. But so were the ancient Hebrews, because their word is ambiguous, and comes from a time when they were dealing with a pantheon. Obviously, look at the first commandment, for Pete's sake. They were living in a world in which there were many gods, and their God was just the mightiest of them, not the only one, and not even the only one that is in their own pantheon. God has a heavenly court of heavenly beings. He's just the greatest of them. It's an echo of Olympus. So you would have to wrestle with that word. And also, just as an English language reader, you would have to decide which of those you like. I myself, for instance, like a little lower than the angels. I think it's a lot less confusing. It's a lot more evocative from a Christian point of view, because it fits in the Christian, hierarchy of things. Also, a little bit of confusion there about the fingers. There is no way, like I said, to read fingers metaphorically. So this is definitely an echo of a time when the worshippers in the great temple thought that God had a human form, that he was greater than a human, but that he had fingers. Which is kind of interesting. Also kind of interesting is that the initial verse of this psalm talks about how whatever you do about the babes and sucklings, whether they are proclaiming the glory of God's creation, or whether or not God is using the voices of babes and sucklings to confound his enemies and rebels, no matter what you do, there's that invocation of enemies. This is a creation myth. This is a creation psalm, which again points towards a time when God had lots of company, even at creation, where he was just one among many. Maybe he had a great enemy. In very, very old religions, the very, very old religions from which Judaism, and then, subsequently thousands, a long time later Christianity, but Judaism was hatched and chopped from much older religions in which God did have a heavenly enemy. Maybe this is an echo of that? I don't know. And of course, a modern reading of this psalm, I always add a little modern element, smiles just a little at that bit about man having dominion over the whole of the world, when the things that are listed are the things that would have been known to someone in Judea in 800 BC. They're animals, beasts of the field, the fish in the sea, but with the person who wrote this psalm, or the people who refined it, knowing only 2 or 3 fishes, and it would be the Sea of Galilee. It wouldn't be anything else. So from a modern perspective, you look at this was written by people who did not know about the outside world. They had no idea about the outside world. They had no idea that really there were many animals left in the world that weren't domesticated by humans. The occasional story in the Old Testament about a bear or a lion, but very little in the way of real life that way. When, unbeknownst to these people, they were surrounded by animals that were killing them every day, that they couldn't see, microorganisms, that over whom man has no dominion whatsoever. A concerted worldwide effort at huge expense might temporarily set in abeyance one of those little animals, but there are always others. And to say nothing of the fact that the writer of this psalm had probably never seen a shark, never had any idea what a 20-foot great white shark can do to a human that's bobbing in the water. Thanks to YouTube, you can actually see what a 20-foot great white shark, what a 15-foot tiger shark will do to a human bobbing in the water. The human certainly does not have dominion over that animal. Those sorts of things, gigantic polar bears were roaming the northern regions, the polar regions of the earth, while this psalm was being written in total ignorance. The people who wrote this had no idea. They'd never heard of any of these things. So you have to look at that with a little bit of a smile. But you want to figure out, I think the main thing you want to figure out as a reader here is, what do you like? I think that's my overriding principle with any translated literature, is what do you like? Figure out what you like first and learn the literature that way. Come to love it that way. Know its ins and outs that way. Then you'll have a firm foundation to go to other translations and see what they do. And even if you find out later on that those other translations are more accurate, you can still have your favorites. But anyway, I'm going to get out while the getting's good. So that is Psalm number 8, and we will thoroughly, resoundingly cancel this ongoing feature until I get over 50,000 takes, which who knows how long that will be. So I'm going to put all these Bibles away, but I will see you next time. Thank you.